Hey, what's going on? This is Greg with Lit Fitness. You can check us out at www.getlitfit.com, Kansas City's and Eastern Jackson County's premier women's weight loss boot camp. Now I'm coming at you today. We're going to be demonstrating a deadlift, a proper deadlift, and some great progressions for you for today. We're going to be working with a kettlebell, but you can easily use a dumbbell, just holding onto the two ends with one hand and letting the dumbbell just kind of hang vertically downwards. Alright, so to demonstrate a proper deadlift with a kettlebell, what we're going to be doing, now first and foremost, it should be mentioned, a proper kettlebell deadlift or a proper any kind of a deadlift is going to be pushing those hips backward and pushing those hips forward, unlike a squat which moves those hips up and down. So we're going to drive those hips back, drive those hips forward by pushing those heels into the ground. Now we want to keep a proper spinal alignment so that the chest is out, chin's up high, and we're going to let the chest kind of come down but keeping those shoulders pulled back. Alright, so we really want to focus on not letting the lower portion of our back kind of hinge over or round over. So we're going to protect that lower back by keeping that chest out, stick that booty out there, push those hips back as we come down towards that kettlebell, holding onto that kettlebell, get a good grasp. We're going to drive those hips to the ground, push those hips forward, and then repeat the movement down slow, slow, slow. So we push those hips back, hold, 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 drive those heels to the ground, push them forward. Now a proper deadlift is going to be, just like mom has always told us, lifting with the legs, not with the back. Alright, lifting with the legs, not with the back. So keep that head up, chest out, chin up high. I like to, as I'm down at the in the bottom portion of the repetition, I like to be looking down towards the ground, but then pick that chin up high because I'm looking forward to keep that neck as neutral as possible. Because you got to keep in mind the spine, which we're really concerned about, starts right here in the pelvis, goes all the way up into the base of the skull. So we don't want to overly twist it, overly contort it. All right, so that is going to be your deadlift, your two-leg deadlift. We're going to be progressing this thing with a swing. Now, a kettlebell swing. Now, this is a really popular movement as kettlebells have become more and more popular themselves. However, I see a lot of people attempting this movement that haven't quite yet mastered the movement itself. The proper kettlebell swing, again, driving those heels to the ground, very similar to a deadlift, working the same muscles right there in the posterior chain, the glutes, the hammies, but instead of pushing those hips as far back as possible, we're going to drive those heels to the ground and very minimize the movement going on in the hips. So they're just pushing back. We're going to drive those heels into the ground, extend those knees, extend those hips, pop it all the way out, and then again, bending at the knees, good soft knees, push those hips back as quick as possible. Now this is of course a power movement unless you're adding even more weight, which can move it or change it into more of a strength training based exercise. So our kettlebell, what we're going to do is we're going to start off picking off the kettlebell right. Because it's a swing, there's a lot of movement going on in this movement. We're going to set it down on the ground. We're going to hike the kettlebell between those legs, which just means propping down, chest out in the deadlift position. We're going to drive those heels backwards or push those hips backwards, drive through those heels, and straighten up those knees as we bring the kettlebell between those legs, and then pop those hips forward and initiate the movement. Once that starts, it's going to be a slight bend in the knees and a slight bend in those hips, and drive, drive, drive with explosive power. So our hike between those legs, pop those hips forward, back down just between the legs, or what I like to call a low clearance under the bridge. Pop those hips forward. Now we want loose arms. We should not be feeling this in the lower back nor in the shoulders. We keep the chin up high at all times and keep the chest out. Always focusing on, is that back rounding, particularly in the lower back, are the shoulders falling forward or not? Ideally, no. When we're done with the movement, we're going to let it come to a stop and just set the kettlebell down on the ground. Now, for a third progression for you today is a single arm swing. Now kettlebell swings, again, very similar to the same movement, except all we're going to do is prop one hand behind us for a little bit of balance. Grabbing onto the kettlebell with one hand and just working the core just a little bit more with the single arm or unilateral movement. Chest out, chins up high. We're going to push those hips backwards, extend those knees, and drive the kettlebell between those legs, and then push those hips forward and drive the heels to the ground. So a two movement hike between those legs, pop it forward, keep that chin up high at all times, watching where the kettlebell is going to end up, and loose arms, but make sure we're not pulling the kettlebell down. We don't want to pull it down. Keep the shoulder loose, keep the arms loose. Imagine the arm is just a towel. All right, from the shoulder all the way through the kettlebell handle and back to the shoulder is just a loose towel, no bone structure, nothing of the sort. Again, when you're done, let it come to a stop, down on the ground, and that is a proper 3 progression kettlebell movement. This is Greg with Lit Fitness, www.getlitfit.com.